Against this right.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. And with an introduction like that, there's no need to waste any time. People, deluded, I'm back again here with my good mate Cecil. As usual, big up him for tuning in. He never acts up and he always makes time for the channel. With it obviously being Arsenal versus Wolves, and there's been a bit of a transfer, a bit of stuff to speak about. It makes sense to get him back, man. How you doing, my guy? AKA Militao. I see your comments and I get it now. I was looking at you just deeper. Yeah, Militao stunt double could be a works for you, man.
I like it, bro. I like it. I used to be like, bro, why does everyone keep doing this? But, you know, it is what it is. It actually does.
Better getting Bergwijn, man. I get the ex-Spurs lad to that. His peak, bro.
I see that one as well. But
I'll take the Errol Spence one, but still.
I'll take the Militao, man. Serial winner. Big up, Real Madrid. But no, all good, man. All good. Things are good. Just good to be back on the channel, bro. Just want to let's get into this, man.
Like you said, let's get into it. Obviously, first game of the season. There was plenty of talk about pre-season. There was obviously going into the season. There's a lot of indirect talk about the transfer business, but focusing on Arsenal versus Wolves. Obviously, clean sheet, 3 points, first game of the season. Me and you spoke the last time about the first 5 games in particular. How did you feel about the game?
We won, and it was a clean sheet. That is. For me, that's the main thing. I mean, people we can go really hyperbolic and look at the performance and nitpick at things, but for me, it's the first game of the season. There was going to be some sort of rust, some sort of first game nerves. Understand sometimes like, look, we're at home against Wolves, we should be dominating, battering. I heard 4 or 5 nils before the game, but I actually predicted 2-0. And if I'm honest, I saw what I actually expected. I know that sounds a bit like
should have put some money on that, man.
Yeah, I know. I just felt like that's what was going to happen. It's first game of the season. Like I said, we just come from a major tournament as well. Players haven't had full pre-seasons. Granted, we had a good pre-season, but not every player had a full pre-season. But what I saw was what I expected. We still look good. I'm happy. I'm happy we got the win. Like I said, clean sheet as well. I think at times most of the time it was a comfortable 2-0 win. I just feel like obviously Villa's the next game. Obviously, we'll talk about at some point in this live. But that is where now. It gets serious. We spoke about the first 5 games in the last time we spoke, and that for me can actually, for me, solidify or guarantee whether we win the league or not. I would be able to see it within the first 5 games. So, yeah, it's the next one that's more important. But I'm happy with the win, man. 2-0 win. We look sharp. So I'm happy. We started as we kind of left.
And I think you're bang on the money, man, in the sense of, you can't expect any fireworks. Again, while I don't think we can just say, it's the first game of the season and cut excuses, I don't think we can go over the top. As you said, clean sheet, 3 points, got the job done. Personally, I think individual brilliance made the difference. A sizzler from Saka, Kai Havertz obviously scored as well. I do think... maybe it's a bit of an exaggeration to say we rid our luck at times, because I think it was one-way traffic and we dominated proceedings. But particularly in the second half, I feel we was giving the ball away rather sloppily. And either side of the first half and the second half, David Raya was called into action probably unnecessarily. I feel if that game happened, maybe if that game was the 8th, 9th, 10th game into the season, I might be a bit more critical. You mentioned rust. What do you mean by that for those who don't know what you're talking about?
I just feel, obviously, because again, I'll go into it, the fact that not every player had a full pre-season due to the Euros, the Copa America, obviously Olympics. I don't think Olympics affect us too much, but those sort of tournaments. So when you see some of those players coming back, like I need to caveat this. Saka is my favorite player, yeah. But sometimes I look at his performance and like, if I'm being honest, first half he was quite quiet. Like I know he got an assist, I know he got a goal. I get that in the full 90, but I wanted more from him. Even though his stat pad's unbelievable, he always puts numbers on the board. So I'm never going to criticize him. Like I mentioned at the top, he's my favorite player. But I just felt like it's still a bit of time for him to get into certain games. I think Declan Rice at times, again, hasn't had a full preseason of Arsenal. For me, he was
Partey as well, man.
Partey, rusty as hell. And to be fair, Partey always takes a bit of time to get, also, there you go. Literally what that comment says, it takes a bit of time for him to get up to speed. Especially in the Arsenal side to the levels that we've seen him at, but it does take him time to get back to that level. So there is rust there, and granted, like, and it makes sense because first game of the season, sorry. So it's understandable. One person that didn't have rust is who you mentioned, David Raya. Didn't really have much to do, but when he was called upon, he was there.
Got us out a bit, man.
So yeah, exactly that. So have to give him his flowers and his plaudits. And there wasn't rust for the players that had the full preseason. Martin Odegaard, I think, looked very good. He was exceptional. So he's been there through the full preseason. He's been good. So yeah, man, it's going to take it is a bit of rust, but we still were hitting the levels that I expect. 2-0 win. You can't really complain. There's little things you can pick out, like I mentioned, but I give them the grace that it's the first game of the season. But again, against Villa, hey, there won't be no grace. I need you to be. You can't lose that. So yeah, we'll get into that. Sure.
And I, before we get on to Villa, because I think you're tying this up perfectly. I think, you know, one thing I forgot to say, I don't know if I said it in my reactions as well. I think Timber in the minutes he played looked sharp. I want to keep up the theme with fullbacks now. Zinchenko. I'm sure me and you both agree, and a lot of Arsenal fans agree in that he's obviously a decent player. He did change the system initially, and I want to be fair to him. But I would have to describe him as a liability defensively. And I definitely don't necessarily want to see you against Aston Villa. I'd love to see Calafiori, whether he's fit enough to start. I hope Timber, with, you know, an extra week of training in the minutes he got, is able to start. But Zinni started. I don't think Zinni was poor, really and truly. How do you feel about Zinchenko's performance, especially going into that Villa game against someone like Leon Bailey, man?
When you pose it like that, going into the Villa game, it becomes a different answer that I'm going to give you, but I don't mind. I think Zinni Zinni, like you just mentioned, defensively, and even I think we all agree that there's frailties there. There's something that, you know, needs to be worked on. But I actually don't think Zinni. I think Zinni gets more harsh.
Get scapegoated a bit, man. If I'm honest,
in my opinion, I think going forward defensively is good. However, with the depth now we have in his position, right, I must say that he's going to have to come down a few steps, because realistically, when we got Calafiori, which I think once he's to speed and at the level, I think he goes above Zinchenko. Timber for me is above Zinchenko regardless. Like, I think Timber's the strongest in that position. I know he mainly can play right back or centre back, but like, he can play left back, and he looks very comfortable when he has played there. So for me, he goes above Zinchenko. So to Zinchenko's detriment, he becomes at the bottom of the pile. But I don't want to scapegoat him, because I actually think he has good qualities when it comes to going forward and offensively. So yeah, I think his performance was good against Wolves. I mean, nothing drastic. I think he was completely awful. Nothing. I think he was amazing at, but I think he was good. I think for Villa, I'm hoping Timber's available and fit and ready to go. In my personal opinion, I wouldn't start Zinchenko against for the Villa away game, but that's just how it is. But Zinni, like I said, I don't want to go too harsh on him. I think there's a player, and I think it's someone that I don't see him leaving in this window, so he's going to be an Arsenal player. So I'm not going to go, like, again, I'm not going to go too harsh on him. I think he's going to be needed throughout the season. I just don't think he's the top of the list when it comes to that left back position. Even though that is what we mentioned in the previous videos, Deluded, that when he first arrived with Jesus, he was transformative for Arsenal. But now we've kind of transformed and gone further ahead now, and it's time for him to just be part of the squad. For me.
You're setting this up perfectly, because I wanted to also ask you, like, obviously you kind of said it there, in that Zinni is probably one of those players, I believe, like Partey, and that the club won't actively force out, but if there's offers, they'll definitely consider them. Yeah. It doesn't look like at this moment he's going to leave. Again, what players say in the public and how they feel in the private is different things, but he strikes me as someone that wants to fight for his place. Credit to the lad. He doesn't want to run away. You could argue whether it's because of Calafiori taking a while to settle in, or not being up there fitness-wise, and us having to tread carefully with Timber. And obviously there's no Tommy, who I'm sure you'd agree we'd both love to see against Aston Villa in some capacity. Yeah. You could argue it's his place to lose. I agree with you in that. I believe he's the bottom of the pile. I only think you're indirectly ahead of Miles Lewis-Skelly because of his age, Akirio obviously, and Tierney, whose days are numbered. But like, assuming that is the thing and Zinchenko stays, what sort of role do you see him playing this season then? Because we don't have the biggest of squads. Yeah,
left back. I see people in the comments, some people talking about midfield for Zinchenko. I know there was a whole debate. Like Robbie James used to have it all the time, and obviously he plays in the midfield for his nation, Ukraine. But I see his role just being a squad player in those games when like you can't risk him. We had this. I had this conversation in the office for the big. He gets highlighted, Zinchenko, right? Because for majority of games when he's playing for Arsenal, he's fine. He's okay. He's just he doesn't contribute, but he does going forward.
Can get away with him.
Yeah, no one really picks him out. But when it comes to the big games, like the Liverpool aways, when it's points that matter and games that we
crunch time,
to be best, crunch time, that's when your eye gets drawn to him because he seems like the weak link. So for me, the simple solution is don't play him in those big games. Don't play him in the games where there's crunch time and we need to get points on the board. That's when you don't play Zinchenko. And he's a great player when it comes to littler games, maybe lower league position teams. We can play him and we feel comfortable. Most people always he always plays well at home because we dominate most possession there. But for me, that is it. I think when it comes to the crunch games, the big games, you just think leave him out. It's not needed. Bring in a Timber, bring in a Calafiori, bring in someone who can solidify that side when it comes to defensively, and maybe can help you and aid you going forward as well. But for me, he's a squad player and should be used in that capacity this season.
I think you're bang on the money, man. Gun to your head. Who starts against Aston Villa then? Is it Zinchenko? Oh, in that you could argue that, the team went out there against Wolves. They did their job. Do you bet on Calafiori dependent on his fitness, or do you lean towards Timber?
If it depends on fitness, obviously, if everyone's 100% fit, I'll put Timber in there, bro. My strongest back line, which I see everyone doing that nowadays, is Ben White, Gabriel Saliba, and then Urin Timber. Only because as well, Calafiori is an unknown quantity. I think a lot of people, there's a majority of people that will say, well, we've paid this much money for Calafiori. There's clear quality there. Surely you put him in starting. But for me, because I know Timber's out of position there, but I just think Timber is what I've seen of him pre-season and in some of the games. He is unbelievable. He's so ready to take and dominate this Premier League. So yeah, that's I'd put Timber in there if he's fit against Villa.
Do you know what? I'm conflicted because a part of me, because Zinchenko's a peculiar case, man. I agree with everything you're saying. I echo these points. I think Zinchenko's a liability defensively. I mean, of course, he's an athlete. He's a professional footballer. But in comparison to his Arsenal teammates, he's not necessarily athletic. I do think they target him. Obviously, other players or positions or spaces could be targeting our team. But I think every winger kind of fancies it against Zinchenko, whether it's Leon Bailey or whatever Villa are doing. I think that would be a typical Premier League game. I do think he's improved defensively. I don't think he's that bad defensively, but that is in comparison to what Zinchenko is. Like, that's not in terms of being a competent kind of fullback. So I think he's a liability. For me, I'm with you. I'm like, depending on Timber's fitness, if Timber's got an hour or 70 minutes in him, I'm starting him. Calafiori surely got half an hour, 20 minutes, 25, 30, and then we see out the game with that. Of course, if we're chasing the game, we bet on Zinni. I don't know why Zinni is so bad defensively. I know he's not an organic defender, kind of. He was a 10 and an 8, and he's kind of found himself in this inverted role. But for me, he's played enough times in this role for club and country to learn what he can and do better, and he's just not a natural. And then I sometimes look at it on a thing where, like, is it a thing where it's not like, if he was in the bottom half of the Premier League sides where you have to be good defensively, you're on the back foot, would he be better defensively? Because 9 times out of 10 for Arsenal City, as you indirectly said, when the sun's shining, we're at the Emirates, we're dominating possession, you're not really having to do anything. So there's the issue. But for me, I'm with you, man. I'm starting Timber. If Calafiori's fit, I don't mind Calafiori starting and then you bring on Timber. But for me, it's a Timber thing. Close out the game with Calafiori. If Zinni needs to come on, then, Mikel Arteta knows more than me. I want to park the fullback talk for a second, and I wanted to ask you about Martinelli because go on.
The reason why, as well, defensively, Zinchenko gets hammered, I think, by Arsenal fans as well, is because you need to look at our back four and think everyone defensively is solid. And they got hype, man. Exactly. Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, everyone's like, we are unbelievable when it comes to defensive attributes, and that's why we had, we had such a good defensive record last season. So when it comes to that, Zinchenko gets highlighted even more because really he may not be terribly defensively, but because our defense,
he's just not levels with them, man.
Yeah, he's not exactly. So that's why I think most people will go to Zinchenko, but our defensively not great. And I got onto that bandwagon as well. But then I look at it and think our back line is so solid that you have to get to that level, which sadly by now he should be, but he's just not quite there. But yeah,
and that's the thing. And that's the thing. I think you're right, and that's the thing. That's like, there's certain players in this team. When it gets to a while, I kind of accept them for what they are. Like, I accept Zinchenko. I'd love to wake up and we speak about Zinchenko defensively as we do when he inverts, but that's not going to happen. I think he's one of them. You just have to accept what he is and use him appropriately. I think we could learn a trick out of City's book where they had him. He probably played like 20 odd games here and there off the bench and was a squad player. I do think Arsenal at times we've been guilty of taking players that are on the periphery of teams, bringing them to us and then putting them in positions where they can thrive in the team, but it's too big boots to fill squad, really. I mean, I wanted to talk about Martinelli. We'll get on to him, but I think this is a great question. Somebody said, over the course of the season, I see Timber replacing Benjamin White. If you remember, he was brought in to challenge White. In my opinion, don't be surprised if White gets dropped over the course of the season. Where are you at with that? How do you feel about that?
Originally, that comment's right. He got brought in to challenge Ben White and give him the competition. However, I think Ben White's so good. He's
reacted well to that, man.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to say he's underrated because by Arsenal fans he's not, but by many others he goes under the radar. And I think that the fact that he's so good even in every game, I don't really see Timber dislodging him too much because Ben White offers so much on that right.
There'd have to be a serious drop off in form from Benjamin, man.
Exactly. And I think
or an injury.
Him and Saka's partnership are so good. I think it's a bit of a risk to try and dislodge that. I also feel like as well, now with Gareth Southgate gone as well for England, I think Ben White's going to work even harder now to, whether he wants to play for England or not, I don't know, but it feels like now that he's gone that he might want to represent his nation. I've seen him say that, you know, it's an honour to play for your nation before obviously Southgate was in there. So I actually think he's going to raise his level even more. I don't know how he does do that. I think he just stays consistent and he stays in that position. But if he does raise it even more to get in that World Cup side, I don't see Timber dislodging. That's why I think left back is the most weakest position and somewhere where, you know, that's where Timber can...
the most up for grabs, really, in that back line.
He can saying that Calafiori, there's a lot of competition now on the left side. But if I'm honest, if we look at when we go to Martinelli and that, there's always competition down that left side, regardless whether it's left wing or left back. Come to the right side, it seems quite solid. Ben White and Saka don't really seem phased when it comes to losing their position. So I think it's going to be more down the left side.
I think you're bang on the money, man. And it's a difficult one because, yeah, we need a squad. And like you just said there, obviously, I think we had the best of both worlds, kind of like with Benjamin. It's well known he's played with injuries. He's quite durable. He plays a lot. He should be in the England squad, whether he starts for England or whatever. He should be someone selected for his country. But as you said, owing to Gareth Southgate, he hasn't been there. So we've had that luxury of him playing all the time for us. And we know that he's missing out the international period. I don't know if Lee Carsley sees him in England contention, but you would imagine he kind of does. So that's another one that's going to join the Salibas, the Gabriels, the Martinellis, the Sakas in already a congested kind of fixture schedule. Where rotation comes concerned or grabbing places, I'm a bit conflicted. Like for me, I think, and you probably agree because you played at academy level and stuff. I think, in England we get caught up in, and don't get twisted, we need new signings. I think the solution is always new players, new this. I think people underestimate partnerships, as you said there, improving what you've got and stability. A big reason as to why we've been good defensively is because these players have been playing with each other for a while now. You look at the partnership with the two centre halves in Saliba and Gabriel, as you said there, Benjamin White, indirectly that ties into Saka and the players in front of him. So I think it's Benjamin White's position to lose. I do think it's just good competition for places. I just make sure you're the one that plays in it. Like you said, right now, left back is open for grabs. There's a lot of unanswered questions on the left-hand side. Like if we sign this Moreno guy, which we'll get onto, does Declan Rice shift over? As you said, Timber, Calafiori, Zinchenko's holding that right now. Martinelli started, but many people would say Trossard deserves to start. Who knows? And now I want to ask you about Martinelli because I don't think anybody was amazing, and I definitely think it was more of the same from Martinelli. I think he was positive in some actions, frustrating in the others. But there was one incident, I want to say it's in the first half, I could be wrong. We broke with Declan Rice and Zinchenko down the left-hand side, and Martinelli went for an effort, and it ended up being a corner. But again, I don't know if he saw it. He needed to get his head up because Declan Rice was open. Now, if Declan Rice scores or doesn't, we're talking about him. But what did you make of Martinelli's performance, man? Because it seems like he's overthinking things.
Yeah, that moment, Declan Rice
jarring
and being like, "Yo, I'm here."
Yeah. That exact moment. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember it clearly. Disappointed in Martinelli, man. And I remember I did like a TikTok video of some kid afterwards, and he was like, "Who was the most disappointing?" And I always say it. We come on here every time. Martinelli, you can see him behind me pointing. That's his shirt. I love him, but for me, and again, I gave people the grace period. It's the first game. But I can't do that too much for Martinelli for this one, only because he got the nod over Trossard, where most fans would say Trossard deserves to start through pre-season and whatnot. He deserves to start. Mick Arteta's gone to back Martinelli, which I love, by the way, because I want to see Martinelli be the starting left winger. So you've been given the opportunity there. I need you to step up then. Even in pre-season, there was many a times we went one-on-one and old Martinelli slots it. But
without thinking twice, yeah.
It's just normal procedure, but through pre-season you weren't doing it. So now I'm like, okay, my eyes on you even more. I need a big season from you. You had a terrible season last season. You need to step up. I love him. Like I know people around him quite well, very close to them, but I have to put pressure on him because it's only right. Martinelli is going to be scrutinised this season, and rightly so, because Saka's such a good winger on his side. We need that level again, especially if we want to go and win the title from our left side. And I don't. Maybe it's just it is a bias. It definitely is a bias. I want to see Martinelli there over Trossard. That's just my personal opinion. Trossard, I think, is an incredible player and has done so much for Arsenal and clinical and whatnot. But I just like Martinelli more. So I need you to have a big season. Didn't start well. Out of everyone, for me, he was the most disappointing in that game against Wolves. So I don't know what's going to happen against Villa. I really don't. I don't know who starts in that left wing position. But if you do, again, that's Arteta giving you another stick to hold on to and make a claim that, you know, this is my position, so I need you to step up. So, yeah, man, I was disappointed in Martinelli against Wolves, I'll be honest.
So I got to ask you, like, generally, what we've seen of Martinelli for the last year, what we indirectly saw in pre-season, what we saw against Wolves, while you don't want to draw any conclusions, because the next 10 games, he could be amazing. He could be the man of the match in every game. Is it concerning now? Because for me, I've said this, I think Martinelli is one of those players you're either going to kick on or you're going to play like this for the rest of your life. And where we look at the front three, like you've been on my channel a few times, and I think we both agree, when you look at our front three, Saka is the only one. Unless you somehow find a player that is twice the ability of Saka, he's cool. Up front, big up Havertz. We'll get onto him, but you're doing all right. But you could upgrade with a striker. The left-hand side, you know, there's a lot of debate. And it's like what you said there. I think many people wanted Trossard to start. And I think I think Arteta sees him as a rotational option. I think he'll only really start him if his form is out of this world, kind of what it was. And Martinelli needed to come out. And it ties into the inconsistencies on the left-hand side. So does this concern you with Martinelli? Like, is this concerning? Is he now a concern? Yeah,
I mean, these aren't bad concerns. They're good concerns. They're players that, you know, are battling, and there is another option. If Martinelli's not on form like he was last season, like you said, Trossard comes in, and yes, we didn't win the league, but it was only by 2 points. So it's not like there's a massive detrimental drop to if we play Trossard, if we play Martinelli. I just as a fan of Martinelli, I want him to be better. I want him to get more goals.
Get back to the business.
And get back to what he was in the season before. So it's concerning. It is concerning, but it's not nothing that I'm losing sleep over. I just want the best for Martinelli. I should want the best for Trossard, and I do. But I just think, you know, someone's got to get hold of that position. Same with the left back position. That whole left side needs to be solidified. Or
people need to grab shirts, man.
Exactly that. Or Mikel Arteta might be looking at it like, well, no. If we play different roles there, it's unpredictable, and that's how you can beat a team, because no one really knows who's going to play there, and it can go to your advantage. I just don't see it like that. I think someone should just, like you said, make a claim for that shirt and hold on to it, because if you get the best out of the players, then we can start talking up our teams. Like you said, Martinelli, when he scored 15 or whatever goals it was, and Martinelli and Saka also had a double-figure season, we were flying, and I was gassed by that, and I just want to have that for both my wingers. But you know, it's good. There's options, there's rotation, and it doesn't massively affect us either way. I just have a little soft spot for Martinelli, that's all. So, yeah.
I mean, you're not alone, man. It's hard not to like Martinelli. I mean, people always banter me. I describe him as a big game player. There's very few big games, whether he scored or not, that he doesn't stand up. I love him on the transition. I love what Martinelli is as a person. I love how he puts his body on the line. It's just small, minor tweaks that are stopping you. I don't think you're better than Saka, but stopping us from speaking about you in that kind of realm, really and truly. Now, Nico Williams, again, I think we all have hope, but that one's dead. Pedro Neto is dead. Martinelli has to do something. And I think this is, big up yourself, Em. I think this is a great thing, because I think it's fair to say Kai Havertz is the number 9 now. I think the one thing that separates Kai Havertz and Jesus in that, I wouldn't describe either as clinical. Havertz actually wants to get in the box. Whether he can finish is another thing. Jesus isn't interested. To which begs me to ask you, is Jesus an option off the left? Because if Trossard doesn't necessarily convince Mikel Arteta, if Martinelli's struggling, do you go with Gabriel Jesus, who, to be fair to him, I'm sure twice against City, did quite well off the left-hand side, off the wings for Arsenal, better yet?
Yeah, I think for me, it's only if Trossard and Martinelli both are failing, then you look at Jesus on the left. However, I think Jesus fits and feels better, covering Saka. So on the right, same time Saka comes off.
I agree.
I think Jesus is better placed there. I think that is something I like seeing. So the left side, it's only if Trossard and Martinelli are really failing. But again, I'm going to quickly just touch on why I think my support is because it's a style of football and a style of player I like to watch. He's like an old school winger, head down.
Chaotic.
And yeah, exactly. Chaotic. And also Brazilian has that flair when he wants to as well. So I prefer that over seeing Trossard, because Trossard is an effective player, but I think he's effective off the bench and a clinical shot. But that goes to the new school, where just get the ball, try, finish, whatever. I like flair. I like. It's the same with Jesus and Havertz. Havertz, fair play to him, is doing well, but I prefer watching Jesus. That doesn't mean I want Jesus. It's maybe not better for the team for him to start because Havertz is putting numbers on the board, but I prefer seeing Jesus up in the number 9 because I like watching him play. Same with Martinelli. I like watching Martinelli when he's at his best over Trossard. But right now, said player might be more effective. Trossard might be more effective on the left, and then Havertz might be more effective in the 9. But it's just what I prefer to see. It's just a shame that they're not when they're at their firing best, they get numbers on the board and they're great to watch. Right now, they're just not hitting that. So that's, for me, that is what it is. But to go back to that question you just said, Jesus, for me, should be on the right covering Saka. But if both are failing on the left, you put Jesus there.
I'm a bit like you in that it's not necessarily right, but I love what Martinelli brings. Martinelli provokes havoc. Gabriel Jesus, he might not be effective, and I think Kai Havertz is one of the first names on the team sheet, but naturally, I think Jesus is one of the most entertaining footballers in this team. Like, don't get twisted. Saka is my favorite, but I think if they're all on song, I actually think Odegaard's my most enjoyable to watch, and then Gabriel Jesus. But entertainment, as we saw in the early Wenger days at the Emirates, doesn't necessarily correlate to winning things. Keeping up the theme with, I think everybody needs Gabriel Jesus to stand up to be counted this season. Everybody needs a reaction from Martinelli. I have to speak about a player that didn't play, obviously. Fabio Vieira. Now there's been some. I have to, man. There's been some rumors he's going out on loan. Let me know your thoughts, bro.
I was going that way. When I spoke about Jesus on the right, I had my next line would have been like, bro, I'm done seeing Fabio Vieira on the right. So Jesus has to be the cover for. I can't have Saka come off and see Fabio Vieira come on that right wing. But then that just means, again, like you're probably going to go on to, what does it mean for him? I don't want to say.
And also, why does Mikel Arteta play him off the right for you as well? Because to me, I have him down as an 8 or a 10. Now, when he came into this club, you had Xhaka, you had Odegaard. Right now, you've got Declan Rice, Jorginho, Partey, all stronger than you in midfield. You're not playing ahead of Odegaard, rightly so. And I don't think you're a right winger. And I know you're not the same, but I look at Cole Palmer, I look at Phil Foden, beyond the obvious. I wouldn't describe them as wingers, but in the present day, they're doing stuff. And then I flip it and say, regardless of what I think, Mikel Arteta is playing you there. He sees something. Does he see you as a versatile kind of player? Like, what do you think on Fabio Vieira? Because surely he can't go on loan with the lack of numbers we've got, but surely he does need to go on loan or something needs to happen. I'm not sure, man.
It's a great conversation because
it's a techie one.
Surely he can't go on loan because we need that. But it's like,
it's mad.
He needs to go on loan because he's not to the level. And that is harsh because when he first came in, I really thought, when he come on against Brentford to score that bang, and I was like, yeah, okay, we've got a player.
We've got a player here, yeah.
Let's integrate him slowly. He'll be ready. He's lightweight. I get it. He's not strong enough for the Premier League yet, but he will be. But I've seen no improvement. For me, like, I wouldn't be. I'd never say things like this.
Now we've got to be honest. Take it away, man.
I wouldn't be upset if he's not an Arsenal player anymore. I wouldn't be upset if he goes on loan. I wouldn't be upset if he got sold, because for me, he's not a right winger. There's not one attribute that says to me, yes, you are a right winger. He can find a pass, but if you can find a pass, you can play that from any position. You play it from midfield, left wing, up front, back, and from defense. Finding a pass.
On the money.
Yeah, I think for me, that's his best attribute, and that for me, when you see that attribute equates to playing in the midfield. But for some reason, Arteta's not playing him there, and Arteta might be doing the stubborn thing where, let me prove you guys wrong. I know what I see. I know what's best for him. For me, he is not a right winger. He can't play that. I've seen him enough in that position, even through pre-season, that says you got no speed, you haven't got the attributes to beat a player one.
You're not tenacious enough for me, man.
You're not a right winger. And then you look at, okay, cool, midfield. He looks like, for me, like PTM Prod from Twitch says Fabio Vieira should be covered for Odegaard. That was my initial thinking. But for me, I think
everybody's, yeah.
But Ethan Manieri, for me, is above Fabio Vieira.
I'd rather give him minutes because at least he's a youth man. You can see he's learning from it and whatnot. I think everyone would agree with that, really.
He's levels. I'm telling you, people. He is the one that should be the heir to Odegaard's throne. So for me, Fabio Vieira is, I don't know what squad player he is because I don't know where he fits in.
Does he even disrupt the balance in midfield with Fabio Vieira if Arteta plays him there? Because I wonder that, because one thing I don't agree with Fabio Vieira is I don't think he's good enough off the ball. So if you're in midfield and you're not tenacious, you disrupt the balance. Maybe that's the case of, like what you said, Arteta just giving him them charity minutes and proving us wrong and being stubborn and whatnot. That's why I had to ask you, man. I don't know, man.
I don't see him in the squad really affecting Arsenal's performances positively, in my opinion. From that's from what I've seen in pre-season. Even Fabio Vieira of old, I saw glimpses, but it's not enough to say that he pushes the level up or keeps it the same level when he's in the side. In my opinion, I feel like we're moving so fast forward when it comes to improvements in this Arsenal side. I just feel like he's getting left behind a little bit. But that's just me.
And that's the harsh reality, man. And, respectfully to Fabio Vieira, again, Ramsdale hardly put a foot wrong. Tierney at the time hardly put a foot wrong. Smith Rowe had injuries, but he hardly put a foot wrong. It's not always down to ability, but better players or players that have been held in high regards, the system has left them as to where we need to go as a football club. So if you're not with it, you're going to get left behind. And he's another one. I mean, I think I speak for you and every Arsenal fan, whether we think Fabio Vieira, Zinchenko, this guy, that guy is good or bad, Martinelli the same. We want all of these players to thrive because ultimately it helps us win in Champions League and maybe Premier League and Champions League glory, but he needs to stand up to be counted. I have to ask you though, as we move on to a bit of the transfer news and things like that, every time Kai Havertz scores, rightly so, big him up, he's found his home. I'm sure you was asked it on Saturday, do we need a striker essentially? Can we afford to get away without a striker? And I'd also caveat that and say, if we don't make any signings, or better yet, if we just sign Mikel Moreno, so we've got Calafiori and Mikel Moreno, is that enough for you to, have the season in May that we'd like to have?
These are the questions I was asking on the week. So I didn't really fabricate my answer for it, but I don't think, as a fan, and what I want to see with the outgoings that also plan to be happening. I see Eddie's box, all his stuff being removed from his box. I see Paddy Heap said goodbye to his teammates. I see him going, I think it's around 25 to 30 million. Emil Smith Rowe's obviously gone. It looks like there was another player as well.
Nelson's also been linked with Leicester once again. Ramsdale could be gone. We'll get onto him as well.
One that was yesterday as well. Sorry, that was looking at with those players potentially leaving. The money that we're bringing in, it doesn't feel right that we only signed Calafiori and Mikel Moreno. Do I think we need a striker? Of course, I'm going to be the same as every Arsenal fan I speak with. Yes, I think we do. Do I think we're going to get one? No, I don't think we do. I don't think Arsenal will go and sign a striker. From what I know of Arsenal, from what I've just seen and heard around, the conversations, it doesn't seem like we're going to get a striker. However, do we think we might get an attacker? Potentially. I can't guarantee that. I just think we might get a winger, whether that's to cover Saka or can play on both sides. I agree. To strengthen that, even up front as well. Like there could be a player that can cover all three. Indirectly,
the Trossard kind of ilk, like you can play across the front three, kind
of. Exactly. So I think we might get that. Do we need a striker? Yes. Do I think we get a no? Do I think we get an attacker? Yes. Oh, maybe. And then, Calafiori and Moreno, is that enough? No, especially because, listen, it's only 2 points we lost out last season. So it's not like it's a massive, massive gap that we need to, fill and change. Yes, things do improve from other clubs throughout the season, but I just don't think City's done massive business to say that's granted that we have to then go and do massive business to overcome them. So there's an argument there, but I just feel like Mikel Moreno and Calafiori, with the outgoings that has happened in the Arsenal that are coming, I believe in the coming weeks or days, I think we can strengthen. I don't see the problem in strengthening. I'm not saying we need to be a Chelsea and just sign players.
Definitely not, man. More players than they can count, man. Jamie Carragher was in his bag when he was dissing them yesterday.
100%. We don't need to be that. We don't need to be that. That's not the plan. And I feel like to balance that many egos in the squad is difficult, especially when you've got Mikel Arteta as well. I think he's very astute when it comes to what he wants in a squad. But I just think one extra signing, 3 signings in the summer window, I think that actually would seal us off. And I think I'd be happy with that. With Calafiori, Mikel Moreno, and then one other. But I don't know who that one other is, but that's not my job. So, that for me, I'd be happy with that window, especially with the outgoings happening as well. So,
I mean, naturally, and again, you're the best person to ask because, you give your own opinions on AFTV, speak with all the other content creators and other platforms, obviously interview all the people. So you can kind of judge the sentiment. And obviously, you're an Arsenal fan off your own back. Now, obviously, like it's a twofold question because I always say, I don't know Edu, I don't know Mikel Arteta. As me and you are speaking here, they could be tying up deals. They could not be. Do you think Arsenal fans are right or wrong for if they are panicking or if they are getting a bit giggity at the lack of business or the slow kind of movement? Because, even someone like Mikel Moreno is taking about 20 years. That is taking forever, blood.
It is taking time. But, bro, Calafiori took fucking long,
This is what we do as a club. We don't do the quick thing, kind of.
Let me remind people. Calafiori was confirmed. We had the welcome video sorted. We had like an extra 2 weeks to upgrade it. We're supposed to improve it for Calafiori, but we were just messing around. We was in LA. We didn't really get time to. We didn't do it in the end. But we knew he was being an Arsenal player from before we left. So that took time. Let's not forget that. Mikel Moreno, by the way, welcome video. It's a freaking classic. It's done.
Make sure you turn on your notification bells for that on AFTV and all the other platforms, folks.
So funny, bro. I promise it's so good. But anyway, that's done for my side. But I know, again, it's going to take us still another couple of weeks. I mean, they've only just booked his medical. And by the time the club actually want to do the press, media, and announce it, there's still probably another week in it. So it's long. So I don't know how long it's going to take for that last one if we get another signing. I do believe there is more. I think fans, I mean, we're always going to want more. We're always going to get itchy and giggly and be like, and giddy and be like,
always going to be emotional.
That's how Arsenal fans are. That's how we are. And granted, we never make these massive signings. It's not like a Declan Rice season where, you know, we're all waiting out for that to be announced and we're gassed. It's going to be like these little ones that are a bit obscure. The Calafiori to me was a bit obscure, even though Arsenal were targeting him before the Euros. For me, it was a bit obscure. Mikel Moreno wasn't one that was on my list, but, you know, he will definitely benefit and improve Arsenal. He is a good player, but it wasn't one that's a sexy signing. So we're always going to get itchy feet. We're always going to want more. But when I saw a Lyon game or a Leverkusen game, I saw him. We were sat kind of next to. He was in the director's box. We was kind of sat in the same row as him. He was like gesturing, like, just calm down.
Tranquilo.
Yeah, like we're working. He basically said that to me and Lee. So like, just know that there is things happening. And granted, I think he's right. I mean, if he gets Eddie out the window for around 30, 25 million, I think that's good business. And if he gets some more players out the window, and then we bring in again another signing after Mikel Moreno, I think it's not too bad. And I think he was gesturing to say there is things to be excited and wait for, as much as we've heard that in the past. I'm going to trust in. I'm going to trust in it.
I think you're bang on, man. And you know, you said the man's name because that's what I wanted to ask you next. You know, again, I do think fans are quite harsh to Edu. I think everybody should be praised and critiqued fairly. But at the same time, you know, Edu's job is hard to critique because Mikel Arteta, if you do the right or wrong tactics, we can see with our eyes, the player's the same. We don't know the players Edu tried to get. We don't know what he's actually doing. We don't know, you know, on one hand, I feel a director should be able to pull rabbits out the hat, should be able to exploit his phone book and try and get things done. But if Mikel Arteta is telling you to get X, Y, and Z, and you're getting X, Y, and Z, and he's getting it done, yeah, we can critique the wages and the contract length and the fee, but you can't really get onto him. But like Edu seems to be someone every summer, every transfer window, we're sitting here like, stop doing barbecues, get the job sorted. Yeah. How are you feeling about Edu? Because, you know, many people are getting onto him about this very Eddie and Nketiah deal. Why did you reject that money from Marseille? Could get something from Forest. Bro,
I was on their side. Let me.
I think we all would, man. It seemed like take the money and run, man.
I was cussing 2 weeks.
Take the money before they change their mind, man.
When Marseille came in with the loan, even that annoyed me. I can't lie. I was vexed. I was vexed. I was like, brother, how are we not getting money? This guy, he needs to. I'm not. I like Eddie, but I'm done with Eddie right now. I think he's not.
Systems left him, man.
It's time for him to move on. So when that Marseille thing came through, I was vexed that it was a loan. I know there was an obligation to buy at the end of it, 30 million euros. But I was just like, why can't we just get pure money, pure profit straight away in the bank? I know it's kind of guaranteed at the end, and you can put it on the books. But I'm like, no, just get him gone. And then there's been a slight change. I know we rejected 25 million, I think, for him yesterday. But I think there's word that he's going to be going for 25 to 30 million anyway to another Premier League. I think it's Forest that you mentioned. So if that does happen, and like I said, he was getting his box cleared out and stuff, so it seems like he is on the way, but I don't know what deal it's going to be. If that gets done, fair play to Edu. I have to take my hat off to him. Don't get it twisted though. I have moments where I'm cussing him. I was going to message him. There was a time, I think it was like Reece, obviously Smith Rowe's gone now, and I was just like, what is happening? Like, we're not getting the players that we need gone, and then we're getting players that I want to stay.
You can just imagine you messaging him.
And we're not really making signings. Like, I never really go to that level of being like, I'm not going to cuss you directly, privately. But I was just in a way, like, we need to get this done. I can't have Eddie here for another season and relying, seeing that 14 top come on in games where we're needing a goal because we're forcing it. So that's the real and truth of it all. But right now, I'm in an okay level when it comes to Edu. Big him up because I'm trusting in what he said in that pre-season game. I'm trusting every signing's coming, and I'm also if Eddie does go, then I'll say hats off. You're doing what I need of you in this window. Because I don't see, there's no one I was like, we must get him in this window. There really wasn't. There really wasn't like a
it would have been Nico Williams for me, but we all know
So there was that, and obviously the Barcelona thing's kind of falling through. That was the one. However, what I believe, this is just me, I believe they actually are still in conversations with him. Not to maybe not happen this summer, but I think there might be, like the Declan Rice thing. Declan Rice was confirmed in January, the January before the summer. I knew he was coming in. When we didn't get him in January, I knew he was coming in the summer because it kind of all got done in that January.
Yeah, laying the groundwork and whatnot.
Exactly. That maybe I'm being ambitious. Things change in football, but if Nico doesn't come this summer, there might be groundwork being put in place for him to maybe a feature or come and sign for Arsenal in the January window. Big ask, big statement. But I just think that could be happening because I know they were saying Arsenal, there was released that they're having conversations with him regardless of the situation with Barcelona, if it was going to go or not. Now we find out it's not happening. That they're still interested in Nico Williams. So fingers crossed. That's the major one. If they get over the line, crazy. But anything apart from that, when it comes to strikers like Victor Osimhen, Gyökeres, and all those players, I wasn't really sold on anyone. That was like a guarantee to say that wins you the title. So I could see why Arsenal were being precautious. I can see why no one was really saying throw all your money at it because it's not a guarantee, and no one really sold me 100%. So yeah, man, I think Edu, he's doing a good job. I can't lie, he's doing a good job.
It's a weird one for me, man, because I do give the club the luxury because I think they've kind of earned that to a degree. I also don't know what you're doing in the offices right now as we speak, but I just feel when I remove my balance hat and as a selfish Arsenal fan, it feels like we do enough to get excited about. It's like we're flirting with success, we're bordering on, and it's like, it's not that we don't ever move the marker, but it's like you could we can't see because we don't know what Arteta is doing, but it's like if you get a striker, or fair enough, not a striker, you get that inside forward, you sort out midfield, you complement with more depth. We're okay. It's almost like we do enough to be excited about, but not quite enough to get over the line. And with it being, with the window being about to close in like just over a week, my hope is just that Eddie can pull a rabbit out the hat. I mean, we spoke about this last time. I don't know what we're going to do with Nelson, especially if a winger doesn't come in. But it's like Reece Nelson, Fabio Vieira, Kivior, Eddie Nketiah, Smith Rowe, they're all on the peripheral things, really. So it's not like we're going to miss them when I remove emotion. But in terms of squad depth, and as you know, a couple of months from now, we're going to have 2 games in a week, 3 games in 10 days. If I can work out that we need more squad depth, then surely they do. And it's like, if you know this and you try to get the players, but don't get the players, then for me, we have to hold that because I do think the conversation has shifted towards anything good or bad that happens at this club is directly on Edu and Mikel Arteta because you've engineered this. We're in a very good space. So we'd have to see, man. And we're starting to get linked with several players. Go on.
For you, where do we need more squad depth? What position?
Boy, it's a weird one. I genuinely think up front. I think in central midfield, I feel Mikel Moreno could give us that. I feel on paper we're kind of stocked in midfield. But when you break it down, I think Jorginho had to play more games than probably the club wanted him to play last year, and he does get an injury. Partey, I hope to be wrong, but I don't think me and you are going to waste any time if we see him getting injured. Declan Rice, obviously you're Mr. Durable, but naturally that you want times where you could sub him and whatnot. And I look at games, I always say this to you, like I look at the North London derby at the Emirates in that when he came off for Jorginho, the game was open. We was kind of in trouble there. So we're in problems. So I'd say central midfield. And I think up front, man, because, Fabio Vieira is seen as a wide option. Not really convinced by that. Smith Rowe didn't really play, but he's gone. Eddie Nketiah didn't play that much, but he was a body. He's gone. Kai Havertz is going to stay fit. If he gets injured, what happens? Gabriel Jesus looks good, but he picks up injuries. Saka and Havertz are the only kind of ones I'm bet on are going to be fit for the majority of the season, and probably Martinelli and Trossard. I don't know where Trossard is seen. Is he a rotational option? How many games would he get? Martinelli the same. So it's like, for me, I would say central midfield is more a long-term thing for me because, again, I don't feel we've got like long-termism in there and really up front. And I just feel, regardless, I think Mikel Arteta said in like February, we've got one of the smallest squads. We have realistically, we've got 11 to 14 players at a push that we really trust. Is that sustainable for a 38-game calendar? Yes, it was last year. Is it sustainable for the champs in the FA Cup? I'm not sure. And Mikel Arteta even said in pre-season that, we don't know if we're going to be able to keep Gabriel, Saliba and Benjamin White fit again. He said the last 2 years we've done well with that. And, me and you spoken about it. we did quite well to keep them fit, and they played through the pain barrier. So I just think it's about more squad depth, really and truly. I think defensively we're spot on. I know a couple people get injured and whatnot. Defensively, I've got no problems. In goal, I've got no problems. I mean, whoever comes in for Ramsdale, it is what it is. On paper, you've got Ramsdale. I think midfield needs to be sorted out, and I think we're missing, at least for me, it would be a striker and a winger, but you have to get one of the two. I'm a bit like you in that I'm more leaning towards maybe an inside forward is more realistic, owing to Kai Havertz's form, which continued at the weekend. So it's a techie one, man, and that moves this on. Yeah, are you taking Chiesa?
Chiesa on the market. Let's go for him. For me, no, nah, not.
He just can't stay fit, man.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like. No, not for me. I was gonna say it doesn't feel like an Arteta signing. I was just in my head thinking, what is an Arteta signing? But I don't think he is the one for me, in my opinion. So no, not Chiesa. I'll pass now. See, yeah, I saw this.
Take it away, man. Aaron Ramsdale to Wolves. Apparently, they're pessimistic about a deal, and it's an option to buy. Does it make sense for you to let him go on loan? Obviously, from a personal point of view, it does for Ramsdale. But from a business point of view, does it make sense? Is there really a market for Ramsdale then for you? How do you feel about this?
Going on loan, bro, include the obviously the option to buy, but like,
I don't like that option thing though, man. It needs to be obligation. Yeah,
it needs to be obligation if you're going to. I feel for him because he needs to. Again, the World Cup is in 2026. He needs to be playing somewhere because he's gonna want to solidify, his spot in the England side. Wolves, I think, is a good side for him, but it still feels like a backwards. I think Ram's such a good goal. It's so annoying because it is a backwards step for him, and granted, he's still in the Premier League. I just think he's been done dirty. That's just I always feel like that. And I like Raya, and he's definitely the right goalkeeper for us. But I just feel like Ramsdale, I feel like he should be at a top club. He can't be a top club in the Premier League because then he'll be competing against us, which I think is just a bit.
I mean, we did reject the Ajax offer.
Yeah, like at least abroad, at least like an Ajax, a Bayern Munich, or something like that. Like. Anyway, I feel for him, but it's a good move for him personally. For the club, I don't know. I mean, is it because it's an options buy? It's not an obligation. I mean, if he comes back at the end of the season,
have to deal with it next summer.
Exactly. It's just another player to add to the squad. Like, and
what if he plays worse? Like, obviously, in an ideal scenario, you play amazing at Wolves, people want to buy you. But what if somehow your stock drops or remains the same?
Well, exactly that. And Lee made a really good point when we spoke about Eddie Nketiah loan to Marseille. Loan spells used to be for players to be looked at to then come back into the first team.
Which is true.
Yeah, I don't see that happening for Ramsdale. So I just feel like it's not a great move business wise for Arsenal, but for him personally, it is what it is. I feel like I'm going to go lean more towards the personal side of the player. I want Ramsdale to be happy, man. He deserves it. I
mean, the guy couldn't even play in the Emirates Cup, man. So, yeah, you need to go and play some football, man. You've been on the bench at club and country. I think Ramsdale's always had a mistake in him, but I think whenever I've seen him, I want to say Brentford away and definitely Brentford at home. I want to say those two games where he looks very shaky, and Ramsdale needs to feel important. I do agree with you in that I feel he was done dirty because he signed a new deal. He got the PFA nomination. When he signed for this club, people sat there and said, back-to-back relegations. If he leaves now, he's going to be held in high regards. And then obviously Raya came in. Now, for me, unselfishly, I didn't see what Raya was bringing, or not even what Raya was bringing. I didn't see the need for Raya, but then I thought, you know what, Raya was his top target. If Raya comes in and he is some sort of upgrade in Mikel Arteta's mind, fair enough. We need to make those kind of unpopular decisions. So it's a bit of a techie one for Ramsdale, man. And it's a shame because, again, we have to make unpopular decisions. But when I see Aubameyang, Ramsdale, Tierney, to a degree, Smith, bro, this is all off sentiment. But it's like where we've turned this club around, I kind of wanted you lot to be around for the fruits of our labour, that being winning major honours. And it's not quite that. I think where Eddie Nketiah is concerned, I don't think Eddie's good enough, but I think he's actually given a bad rep by fans. I don't feel he gave the number 14 shirt to himself, nor did he give himself 100 bags. I think he tries. I think his attitude is spot on. I just don't think the lad's good enough, really. I just don't think the lad's good enough. I think he's past his sell-by date. He's 25 years of age, but he's almost like, you still ain't. When was the last time you got 20 league games, 20 league starts? You just need to move on. So when I'm seeing things like Nottingham Forest, he's their top target. They're talking with his reps. As you said there's rumours his box is being cleared out, so he's going somewhere. Fair enough. You're 25. You're heading your peak ages now, and you ain't. How many Premier League goals have you got? So, yeah, get the money. But again, with Eddie, because the one thing I would say, if we kept Eddie Nketiah, whether I rate him or not. There's a reality, unfortunately, where Gabriel Jesus gets injured, something happens to Kai Havertz. Naturally, Nketiah gets game time, so he needs to move on. I've got to ask you about Gundogan now. There are rumours that Manchester City are the front runners for him to return. He was linked with Arsenal Football Club. I don't know if we'll ever get Moreno and Gundogan, but if there was a reality, are you going for him?
I'll take Gundogan, man. Oh, he is old. He's old. He's experienced. He is older, but I think cover-wise, and the quality of what he is, I think I would take it. I mean, it was linked to him when he was leaving City, and I was like,
that's why I asked you.
Yeah, if we can get him, go for him. Go and get it. Obviously, at the time, I didn't expect City to sell to us again. But I think Gundogan's a phenomenal player, man. I think he in big moments as well, he steps up. I would take Gundogan. And on the Eddie thing, sorry, the reason why I was looking to the side,
go ahead, man.
Off screen, I was just looking at who Forest have up front options. Obviously, they got Chris Wood, who scored against Bournemouth from the weekend.
Apparently, they're also trying to get Jimenez as well from Feyenoord. So
I'm saying they got a 1 year as well. I'm just thinking, like, I remember Eddie's moaning that, like, he needs a run of games. I'm thinking that he needs that run of games in a team. Like, he needs to be valued now. I was thinking, at Nottingham Forest, they got striker options, so you won't really get. You might be part of rotation in that squad as well. Let's not forget that. So I just think, I don't know. It's for me. I just needed to see, and he is good enough, just not good enough for Arsenal. So I just wanted to see him. I do want to see him gone, but again, if he's looking to be that star number 9, I mean, you've got to really step up in that Forest side because you've got competition there as well. It's like when Balogun left, he was kind of cemented as going to be the number 1 striker for the club that he went to. So I don't think you get that with Eddie. So it'll be interesting to see where he actually does end up going. And yeah, Gundogan, I would take. Course.
So we've gone with Ramsdale. We've spoken about Chiesa, Ramsdale, Eddie Nketiah. Where are you at with Jadon Sancho, man? Another one that seemed like Ten Hag was going to bless the beef with him, left out of the match day squad. Apparently, the Athletic are saying Chelsea are monitoring, not that they need more players, could be available for 40 million. Many people look towards 2-degree Odegaard, but more Kai Havertz and actually Benjamin White and Ramsdale and that. Mikel Arteta putting an arm around players can get a tune out of them. And we have been speaking this whole hour, well, just under an hour about the left-hand side, which surely Sancho could bring something. Are you having him?
Deluded, I don't know. This one, I really don't know. It's a really crap answer, but it's only because, like, I look at everything. Is he an Arsenal player? Does he fit Mikel Arteta's, philosophies? Is he a personality that can clash with the dressing room? Has he got the ability? Is he good enough? All those things with Jadon Sancho, it's hard for me to answer because
wages as well.
Yeah, wages a big thing. Borussia Dortmund, he was quality at Man United. Obviously, the issue with Eric Ten Hag was a problem for him playing wise. I think there's better options, like we got there Eze and Kudus. I think there's better options.
We'd all love Eze, but myth.
I think that obviously won't be able to get them, but I think there's better options for Arsenal than Jadon Sancho. However, he is a top player. When he played against us in New York and he in pre-season, absolutely cooked us. So there's a player in there.
There's a player in there, man. It's crazy.
And when he's happy, he plays well. And it's funny because everyone always has that thing online on Twitter, like, we're done with saving players. Can Arteta save another player's career and all this, like the Havertz thing and all of that? And, can he be that saving grace? And I don't put it past Arteta to bring him into Arsenal and him be a better player. It's the same with when the whole Mudryk thing. I still would consider Mudryk because I think he'll do well in this Arsenal side. I think Arteta will be able to get the best out of him. However, he's low in the pile. Because I think Jadon Sancho goes above him. I think he could save him. Same with Rashford. When Rashford was linked to Arsenal, I believed Arteta could get the best out of him. But these players come with a bit more. Like I said, wages. There's an attitude. There's an arrogance.
There's a lot of baggage.
Yeah, there's a lot of that's the word. There you go. There's a lot of baggage that comes with certain players. So is it worth the risk in a season where you're going to be hyper criticized on if you don't win a trophy?
Every point counts. Exactly.
I don't know if this is the season where you take that risk for me.
What about Sterling? Another one that people would say the exact same thing. It's a techie one. I must admit, a part of me is keen on it. A part of me wants to stay well away from it just because I would more be open to trying that with Sancho or Rashford or Mudryk purely because they're younger. But whatever I have to say about Sterling, Arteta's worked with him before. He has got the pedigree and he's on big wages as well, man. And Sancho at least went to Dortmund and showed something. Fair enough. Everybody looks rubbish at Chelsea right now, but Sterling's stinking up the place, man. So I'm not sure, but we do have decent negotiations with them. So yeah, we say for Sterling, man. It's techie, man. It's techie. Like the comments are saying, no fakey to Raheem Sterling, bro. It's a techie one, man. I just don't know. Oh, man. And then you've obviously, who else have you got? Oh gosh, what happened to? Hey, Sterling mashed up thingy. Cecil's live stream. See, I mentioned Sterling and Sterling's gone. That tells you everything. What happened to Cecil, man? We're just about to get onto the Villa game. Oh, before Cecil comes back, he's an upgrade on Nelson. I'd risk Sancho right now. I mean, everything's a risk, though. I mean, everything's an upgrade on Nelson. With the greatest of respect to Reece Nelson, it's the bars on the floor then, if that's what we're going to do. Eze had a release clause. I wouldn't say it's a myth. I mean, it's a myth in that the release clause is gone, bro. Like, the release clause, if you put down the cash, which we didn't do, then fair enough. You're going to have to get rid of these you're going to have to make these outgoings first and foremost. And then you're going to probably have to, you're at Crystal Palace's mercy to get a deal done. And you're probably going to have to overpay now because the window's shut in. They're going to look for a replacement. They're fighting to keep hold of Gurhey. It looks like Jochin Anderson could go. Obviously, they've lost Elise. I said it in what game was we watching? I think we was watching Chelsea versus City together, folks. And I said before that, I think it was Brentford Palace, which I actually feel was the most enjoyable game as a neutral football fan. Forget Arsenal for a sec over this opening weekend of football. And I just couldn't stop watching Eze off that left-hand side. You know, big up Trossard or Martinelli, but Eze off that left-hand side would be lit. Obviously, he can play as a left 8. So, yeah, and that's before we talk about outgoings. That's before we talk about whatever else Mikel Arteta wants to do. Because, yeah, we're going to bring finances in, but Ramsdale's going to leave. We're going to bring in a backup goalie, which apparently is that Garcia lad from Espanyol. He has a release clause of about 21.5. You know, Moreno, it's anything from up to 30 odd million euros to get that one there done. So that's that. And I don't know whatever else Mikel Arteta wants to do. So Eze would be great, but yeah, I think it's a myth, man. Like, it would have been lovely if it would have got done. DG, what happened to the green screen setup? Man, I just wanted to change, man. We have to raise the floor now, get rid of those players who aren't good enough. And that's what I mean about Mikel Moreno. Mikel Moreno's not a sexy signing. I don't think he's one that people are going to scream and shout and shake it all about for, but I think he's competent, he's durable, he wins his aerial duels. He's 28, so he knows his role, he knows everything in that midfield. He's obviously played in Germany, played in England, so there might be that fire in his belly to do better there again. Obviously, he's played for Spain, he's got a winning pedigree, you know, playing for Spain and winning the Euros. Sociedad and Arsenal are two very different clubs, but you know, that seems like one of them clubs you have to really buy into type of thing. We want that at Arsenal. And I also feel with Mikel Moreno, again, you look at Liverpool, you look at the vast majority of the players Liverpool signed at the time of when they were fighting for league titles or what they amassed. You know, Trent's a good player, but, you know, he came through the academy. At the time, that's not sexy. Robertson, on the other side, that weren't sexy. Back-to-back relegation. Salah was called a Chelsea flop and all of that jazz. And there's, you know, Firmino was okay at Hoffenheim, but he weren't really rated like that. Mane, people turned down their nose at despite his exploits and doing very well for Southampton. People had something to say in that regard. You get all of these guys, you buy smart Wijnaldum as well. He was doing his thing at Newcastle, but no one was ranting and raving about that. You get these players competently, you surround them together, suddenly you've got decent players. Of course, we'd all want 100 million Declan Rice signings. We'd all want to sign the next Alexis and Ozil and Omri. And, well, to be fair, Santi Cazorla would do in this Arsenal team. But just got to buy correctly, man. It's probably between Nico and Adjuringa. I mean, if there's a chance to get Nico Williams to the carpet, if there's any small opportunity, I'm all for it. Let me see where Cecil is. I think, did your laptop die? We didn't miss anything, and because we went over Villa, we went over everything. Minor, bro. So yeah, Sterling and Cecil got beef. The minute I mentioned Sterling, he was gone. He's back. Is he back? It says device not connected. You know what? His laptop probably, is he back? I think his laptop must have restarted or something. Smash the likes if you haven't. Do you think Arsenal's midfield is now similar level to City's now that they're getting Gundogan?
Crazy.
Nah, man.
What happened?
We mentioned Raheem Sterling and then it got peaked, bro. Like,
I'm going to be lagging, innit?
I don't know, man. But yeah, man. Let me ask you two more questions before it gets worse, bro. Like, what would you say on Sterling?
My internet just dropped and
it's Sterling, man. It's Sterling. Everything was going great until I mentioned Raheem Sterling.
I just locked off after Raheem Sterling.
Arteta's telling you enough and telling you exactly how he feels about Sterling. But yeah, what you say for Sterling?
Still, is it really bad? If it is, I'm going to have to just...
Can you hear us? Yep. I don't know, you know. Is he there?
Bro,
They don't want us to
Sterling
shine,
really
man. At least you got all the way, man. We was gonna
Let me
ask you
come
about
back.
Ademola Lookman. Can you hear us?
Give me 5 minutes.
Go on. And then yeah, we can speak about Lookman and Sterling, man. Let him pattern that up, people. I'll tell you what, I'd take Sancho over Sterling. I'd rather Sancho just because, bro, he's a bit younger. There's a bit of, you know, there's a bit more to kind of get out of him in terms of longevity. But then there is the Love Island tax. Sancho seems quite volatile. I could caveat that and say, you know what, Sterling's 29. It's a right now thing. He might just want to do this thing right now, and he might have that positive chip on his shoulder that you know Chelsea have got rid of him really and truly. So there's that. Ademola Lookman is more than welcome. It seems like he's more likely to go to Paris Saint-Germain, but again, I don't know, with no shade, but I don't know if 90-minute sport are creditable, if they know what they're really talking about in that regards. But they've said Arsenal are monitoring that. I mean, Lookman, you know, he'd be good. You know, he'd be good for us. You know, I stopped rating Lookman when he was at Fulham. I loved him at Charlton, as you can see with some of the vids, and it seems like he's found his feet again. So, yeah, big up Ademola Lookman. But that's the thing, though, man, where Arsenal is. We're not going to go and get the house like the Rodrigos, the Viniciuses. We can rule that out. Rafa Leao, I don't think he's on their level, but they're saying 90 to 100 million. I think we can all rule that out. Do you go for the more younger kind of guys that you don't know, the Jeremy Doku's, the Bakayokos that are a bit raw and Arteta can get a tune out of them? Do you go for someone like Ademola Lookman? Do you go for, with the greatest of respect, damaged goods, which would, I mean, João Felix not a winger, but João Felix can play out there. He's obviously going Chelsea. Him, damaged goods. Obviously, Jadon Sancho could be defined as that. Rashford could, to a degree, be defined as that. Raheem Sterling could be defined as that. I don't know if any of them convince. And as much as I think Arteta could get a tune out of some of these players, and I think they could be good for Arsenal, you know, we can't keep doing Captain Save-A-Hole, you know, where he's a football manager. He can't turn water into wine. He can't make everybody good, because if he could, we might not have the same conversations I'm having about Kivio or Fabio Vieira, with the greatest of respect. Do you still think Sterling can produce? Do you still think Sterling can perform? The saddest thing is, I think he can. I don't know for Arsenal. I don't know if he wants that at Arsenal, but I do think he can. But I think with Sterling, it's got a bang in it, really, because there's going to be too much wages. There's going to be a transfer fee. One wonders, you know, is there a market for Sterling? I'm sure there's plenty of clubs that would be interested and listen to, you know, Chelsea if they were selling him. But if it's a loan, what is the loan fee that they require for him? You know, what's the loan fee they would want for Sterling? He's on probably, and I'm not a pocket watcher. I don't really care how much you get paid. I wish I got 300K or 300,000 a month, but he's on 300,000. If you're doing the business and, you know, you're moving like a prime salary and whatnot, then it don't really matter what you get paid. When you're not, there's issues there. So I don't know, man. For me, I think I would love a striker and a winger. I think owing to Kai Havertz's form and his durability, I think it's a case of Moreno comes in, follows David Raya and Calafiori. We get a versatile kind of inside forward, probably more so likely to play off the left, and we keep it from there. But you know, Sterling's played in the Champions League final. He's won numerous prems. He's coped with that wonder kid tag as well, coming through at 16, 17. He's coped with a lot. We all know how Sterling was spoken about in the media, in his personal life. Buying his mum a house is a problem. We all know, you know, what Brendan Rodgers was putting in the papers when he left Liverpool for City and the appropriate headlines. So there are some things that I think Sterling could tie into this. And obviously, Mikel Arteta has worked with him as well. So I don't know, man. I don't know. Is he back? Yeah, he's back. He's back. Couple of questions, man, before I let you get out of it. First thing, let us know your thoughts finally on Sterling, Ademola Lookman.
Oh, sorry about that, people.
Minor, man.
Wi-Fi.
It happens.
Yeah, Sterling, I was struggling. I was literally talking to myself for time. Like, he's a yard man. He's a brother that I like. I just feel like Chelsea might have the twilight of his career now. I feel like Chelsea might have killed him.
Retirement home settings.
Yeah, it's another, like, I don't want Arsenal to be seen as that, as a retirement holiday. Like that's what it used to be in the past. Chelsea players being coming over, just have their final club at in London and basically bring us down. So Sterling's a great player. Arteta's got good relationships with him, especially when he was at Man City. I think that, and there's obviously word that they really helped each other, in the sense that Sterling really benefited from Mikel Arteta's words when he was at City. But all of these, Sancho, Rashford, Sterling, I'm so confused.
Still linked with Sane and Coleman as well.
So I'm saying Sane, I would take. I like Sane. Coleman, I'd probably take as well. But again, these are big signings, that big personalities that, you know, would demand game time, as long as they understand that, you know, they're gonna have to battle and earn their right to play for this Arsenal team, then I'd like to see them. Sterling, definitively, I'm gonna say at this moment in time, I love him, but no, right now, Adeloma Lookman, also a good player, drifted around so many clubs, never really hit the heights in the Premier League, especially when he was at Fulham and that. I just think, did he go? Was he at Leicester as well? I think he's at a few clubs.
He's bounced around a bit. Leicester, Fulham, Everton, technically Charlton, but that weren't Prem. He's found his feet at Atalanta, isn't it?
So yeah, but I just don't think he's the right fit either. There's like Kings. Someone said Kingsley Coman. Oh, he said he's rubbish as well, but Coman is a good shout.
Injury tax where it comes to him, man.
We're
never going to see you on the pitch.
Exactly. Nico Williams, we spoke about. There's a lot of players that are ahead of the players that we've just mentioned in this video that I'd like to see at Arsenal. So yeah, for now, no's on those. Apologies again for that dropping out.
Mine on, man. It happens, man. Like, what we want you to do about the internet. It happens. I've therefore been there. My last question for you then, man. Villa, talk to me, man. Emre, we go back to that stomping ground. As you said, we missed out on the league for 2 points last season. You can't just look at one game, but I would say Villa away is one of those. And also Villa at home, man. They did us. Revenge has to be on the menu, man. What are you expecting from that?
I'm glad you said that, because we always do previews and we always talk about, is this revenge, And then we always felt like, I know a lot of times, the people that are on AFTV when we speak about it, like, nah, it's not revenge. We should win, blah, blah. This has to be revenge. Forget all of that. Yeah, this one feels like blood. You lot are pissing me off now, Villa. Yeah. So this is revenge. Like, they've done a double us last season. This season can't happen. It really can't. They can't beat us at their place. We have to win, especially with the whole talks. Obviously, many people that's in the Yardman Robbie argument, like, with the talks of Emery being a better manager than Arteta. I think.
Where do you stand on that as well? Because I don't think so. I think Arteta is a better fit for Arsenal than Emery. Obviously, if they both retire today, Emery's got more of a pedigree. But I just think he's a better fit, man.
He's been managing for 15 years plus, Emery. So of course,
yeah, exactly.
And
let's not forget, Emery stunk out the place at Arsenal. You know, I think the situation weren't the same. I do think there's certain luxuries that Mikel Arteta got that Emery didn't. It's a bit like David Moyes at Man United for me, in that the first man through the door. It says it in the 48 Laws of Power: avoid stepping in a great man's shoes. The first person that comes in after any of these is a bit like Pep. You're kind of fucked, really. So I don't think Emery was helped, but let's not remember how stinky Arsenal were when we're rocking up to Watford, Mkhitaryan and Ozu our wing backs. Let's not forget what Emery was doing.
Let's not forget, Emery had our record signing at the time, 72 million.
We let him down in the Europa final, I think, Emery. That's the one thing I'll give him. But other than that, it weren't a good fit, blood.
People talk about his European pedigree, but we remember, people don't forget about Baku. Like, come on now, like that was an opportunity. We got battered. So like, it's just what
Saka to Palace as well. Like,
exactly.
This guy's a madman.
Exactly. So Emery, I don't think he is. However, like you mentioned, it's tough. The way you word it, a better fit. Arteta is a better fit for Arsenal, and that's the best way to put it. But manager, if you look at his tenure, of course, Emery's got more, but he's been managing for longer. And when he gets to the big clubs, it's not like he really shines, Emery. So let's.
He's better with the underdog team, with the greatest of respect to Aston Villa. Exactly
that. So yeah, but I just think if we lose the Villa, that conversation is going to be peak.
Let's hope that's not the case, man. Give us your predictions and starting 11 then, man.
Nah.
I'm gonna say 2-1 Arsenal, man. I'm gonna say 2-1 Arsenal. Martinelli to bag. A nail biting one. A bit like the one I'm sure we wore the black kit. Wherever we wore the black kit and we came from behind, I think it's gonna be that thing, man. I think it's one of them games.
I'm gonna say 1-0 Arsenal. The game at their place was 1-0, wasn't it? There to them. It was a goal that came out the blue. I think should have been. This should have been this loud. I don't know. I know it was at Newcastle, but anyway, there was a 1-0, and we were
penalty as well.
Yeah, we should have won that game. So I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be a tight affair again. I think it's gonna go 1-0 Arsenal. I hope we have a signing by then as well. I don't think Mikel Moreno will be announced by then, but it'd be nice if he was just.
I would have bet on it, man. I would have bet on it.
No, it's on Arsenal and the 11 to play. I was about to say Ramsdale in goal, of course not. David Raya, Ben White, Gabriel Saliba, Timber. It's got to be Partey, Rice, and Odegaard. And it's got to be Saka, Sugar, Havertz.
I know the one that you're going to struggle with now is that left wing.
Flip. I want Martinelli, but I actually think Trossard could be. What do I want to see? Martinelli didn't do great, man. Do you know what? Trossard to start. I can't believe I'm saying that. That's poor from me, but Trossard to start. And then Martinelli off the bench. Even though Martinelli was so good we played them away the season before. And yeah, he was quality in that game. Got that last goal when he was running. Got the last goal against him 1-4-2. But for me, I'm gonna go put Trossard there. Do
you know what? I was gonna go with Trossard. I mean, it's one where you wish you could play 12 players. You wish or 13 if you consider Jesus. Yeah, I think Martinelli will start. I'd love to still go with him. I think it's more of a cute and clever game. Trossard's better at ball retention and all of that. And I can't really say Martinelli's better than Trossard off the bench because Trossard's the poster boy for that at the Emirates. But I just think Martinelli's pace and aggression, when you're tired, you don't want to defend against that. But I'm going to say a left field choice. I'm going to go with the same 11 you said, minus. I'm actually going to go Gabriel Jesus off the left because Arteta keeps talking about that partnership. I want to see that. And obviously, Emery's done his homework. So he obviously knows Jesus can play out wide. But I don't think they'd be expecting that. So I think this is the game to see something left. But do I really see Timber coming in for Zinchenko and also Jesus or Trossard, 2 changes off that left? You never know. Arteta's done weirder things. He's played Smith Rowe in the semi-final, false 9. But yeah, if it was up to me, Jesus, man. For me,
is he going to do that many changes down that left side? That's a great point. But I don't know what Timber's most comfortable playing with on that left side. I don't know if he does go Timber.
This is the thing.
Yeah, but I don't see you can't put Zinchenko in. I mean,
I think that's what we're all saying. So that means Zinchenko is going to play. I think we're just shook, man. And it's sad for Zinny, man, because we should have more faith. But it's like sometimes it's like Zinny gets cooked a lot. Don't get twisted. But sometimes he actually does all right. Yeah, he just want to get at you. Like they just see you as food. Like they just want to draw you out. And I hear it. If I had some of these Premier League players' abilities and I was playing against Zinchenko, of course you want to take him on. And as a Sunday League fullback, that's one of the worst things when a winger genuinely wants to take you on again and again and again and again, and you're just living to breathe another day. And I do want to see less of this season where Big Gabriel Magalhaes has to it feels like he's holding Zinny's hands a lot, and which I don't want to see, but. We'll have to see, man. We'll deal with that then. Hopefully we get 2 games, 2 wins from 2, man. Cecil, let us know where we can find you, man. As usual, it's been a pleasure, man.
Come on, big up everyone as well in the chat. It's nice to do a live. It's nice to see the comments as well. Big up everyone on YouTube. Listen, Cecil_G is the main place you can find me. If you don't want to find me, don't find me, innit? I'm hiding at times. I'm not trying to be seen, but, and you see me, you'll see me on where the chair says behind me. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine they don't know you're on AFTV. So yeah, man, follow his socials. All the information is going to be in the description of the video. Hopefully in like a month's time, we'll get him back and we're still, waffling about positive Arsenal stuff or whatever, people. But Cecil, as I said, man, it's always a pleasure. You always come on the channel and offer your time, put in a shift. Let me let you get out of here. People, I'm sure you lot agree and disagree with what we said. So join the discussion, leave a comment, subscribe and whatnot. I'm back in 15 minutes to go live and talk about all the Arsenal news anyways. So yeah, people, we're out, fam. Safe. Come on, man. Always